Hey guys, it's Mona and welcome to another video by the Circuit System. So today we are going to be talking about the whole original versus core versus host situation. I don't want to say debate because it's not really debated. It's pretty set in stone, but we want to talk about it. There are definitely a lot of videos already out there about this topic. However, we just felt that it would be important to mention it anyway, simply because it is such a big thing in general, especially within the system community. So, when it comes to an original, this is something that doesn't really exist with dissociative disorders, or with plurality really in general. When it comes to non-traumatic systems, in that case, there more so is an original since the system was created intentionally, but with traumagenic specifically, which is what today's video is going to be on, there is no real original. Sometimes a host will call themselves an original as a coping mechanism, and that's totally valid because adapting to being a system can be difficult. So that's understandable and valid, but in reality, basically, the concept of an original they don't exist. There is no original. Even the host is an alter. There's lots of analogies out there talking about the original. Some people talk about how if you break a plate, there is no first piece, and the entropy system, I know other people have done this, but them specifically did a demonstration with a piece of paper, which I'm going to kind of replicate here, which is that if you have one piece of paper and you split it into multiple pieces, there is no real original piece. They're all separate. They can't really be put back together. It's all entirely their own individual little pieces of paper now. None of these are the original piece of paper. So that's kind of how that works. When it comes to a core, though, this is a little more debated, I'll admit, but that's kind of just it's not quite the first personality, because that isn't how it works. When you're younger, you don't have a set personality yet. You're kind of there, you're still figuring everything out. And with traumagenic systems, trauma causes the brain to kind of split because you don't know how to deal with what's going on, and because as a child you don't have a real set personality yet. That's kind of how you deal with it. So what we consider the core, and what we've seen a lot of people in the community also consider the core, is basically the body's name and who was raised as the one person. So for us, our core would be Camille. She has been our long-term host forever, and she was named, the parents named her, she was who was, I don't want to say first because that's not technically accurate, but for lack of a better word, that is kind of what it is. With hosts, that is something entirely different. Any member of a system can become the host. The host is simply whoever is up front most often, the most, who is sort of the main fronter. Anyone can be a host. We know systems who have fictive hosts, and a lot of people seem to have a hard time grasping this, but that's just how it is. Sometimes the first host simply cannot handle being host anymore. They might be dealing with turmoil or personal issues, and they simply are not the best person to be the host anymore. Or it could happen accidentally or gradually. Someone else just starts becoming the main fronter, and whoever was before is like, I'm good, you can have that. So that's kind of what hosts is. Anyone can be host. And with the core, that is kind of a set person. Some systems disregard core altogether. They're like, we don't care about that. We are just who we are, and that's, again, valid. We just kind of like to keep the core simply because we didn't know we were a system for so long and only pretty recently discovered this. So for us, it's just kind of an easier way when we start to explain it to people and we start to come out to our friends as a system. It's kind of like Camille was the core. You were meeting her, and that's kind of just that. But the big thing with the original is that there isn't one. And that's something a lot of people don't realize or have a hard time understanding, which is fine. Dissociative disorders are very difficult and hard to understand, even to the people who have them, let alone someone who may not have heard of it before you were like, hey, I want to tell you this. So, that is basically it for this video. We knew it would be a short one, and we know a lot of people make this video, but we wanted to kind of throw out our own take on it. So, again, in conclusion, I suppose, there is no original. Calling yourself an original as a coping mechanism is completely valid, but in reality, there is no one original alter or person. There can be a core depending on how you want your system to work. For us, we do have a core, and we do call her the core, and then anyone can have a host. For us, our core has been our long-term host, and we don't know if that'll change in the future, but Camille has been the host for a long time, and from what we can tell, that is not going to change anytime soon. But if people have other hosts and other alters as their hosts, that is entirely valid, and they should not be questioned for that, which happens far too often. We have many system friends who have fictive hosts and are constantly questioned about this and are immediately claimed fake due to this. We could post a whole video on our own take on fake claiming and all that, but that is not for right now. So yes, that is kinda that. Much shorter video today, but we felt it was a good one to get out there. So thank you for watching, and I hope you had fun at the circus.